everybody, this is first of all, hey everybody, happy Monday. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. This is the weekly live stream where we just hang out. We talk about whatever we want to talk about. And sorry, I'm a little bit late today. Sometimes it's just the Mondays get really, really busy. I'm trying to fit so much into it in just a short amount of time. And it's just kind of like running around thinking, I got to get back for the live stream. I got all this kind of stuff. So, and then you have to set up the camera. So today I'm just going to do it with just the webcam, without setting up the other camera and everything like that. So hopefully guys are okay with that. Hopefully guys are cool with that. Let's see what's gone on this week. So for me, mostly it's just been a lot of working. Like there's a lot of client projects on at the moment. So going through and doing all that kind of stuff. Whereas before, most of everything I was doing was with the offshore developers. Now at the moment, I'm doing a lot of the stuff myself, just taking it in, doing it myself, which is kind of, it's rewarding in some ways. In some ways, it's like kind of like just shrinking back from the stress of having too many things to do with. So for those guys who do run your own software companies, you probably know what this is like, where you have your clients, which they have their demands. Clients have demands, and also your developers have demands. So you got like those two different sides of stuff which you're working on, which can be stressful. So I think that was one of the things coming out of COVID, was just thinking I think I want to just have like less stress going forward, which we're trying to do. In terms of the company, we're still taking on some projects, but we're kind of like we're quoting on a lot of stuff, and just watching the app revenue kind of stay at this kind of stagnant level at the moment, because I got an email yesterday that one of my apps had been removed from Apple because it hadn't been updated in a while. I got like a notification about a month ago, and I did nothing with it, so they just removed it. And I mean, usually if something gets removed from Apple, just have to resubmit it. It's not that big a deal, unless it's unless the reason is for the 4.3 stuff and all that kind of stuff, or the guideline 4.3 with the repetitive content type stuff, which was a bit difficult. So let's see. Tamil City Central is here. Hey, how's it going? Hey bro, how are you? I'm doing really well. Okay, so I'm trying the beard thing out. I'm trying the beard just for a short amount of time. Every so often I'll grow it in, and I'll and then I realize, I don't like it. I spend too much time stroking my chin and everything. But mostly it's been like a lot of just sitting here at the computer, just working. It's been my days. But everything's starting to open up in England, which is really awesome. Yesterday there was the Euro final. For those of you guys who are in the UK, like how big a deal that was. But that was kind of like a big thing building up to it. And right now, and today it's kind of weird because you wake up and it was raining. Everyone sees it. I've hardly had any contact with anybody today, to be honest with you. So. Let's see. Ravi says, "Hey Eric, your camera is good now. I like it more at this angle." I'm just using the webcam on the iMac. That was the thing. Normally I'll set up like the camera and everything. But I know like a lot of the times you guys have been saying like the audio wasn't so good before and everything like that. So let's just give it a try like this today. So. I just have to remember to look at the camera and not at the screen. If you guys ever do any kind of YouTube stuff or anything, it's one of those things that's important to remember to look at here and not here. Let's see, Jose. Hey, Jose, how's it going? I like your icon. It's very much like an icon I used to have. Alternative to Google Play or Apple. Chaos other. Google is very warnings, ads, of course. So there are definitely alternatives to Google Play. Apple, not really. I mean, you're basically, when you're building on the Apple ecosystem, they're in charge of the distribution. If you want it to go on an iPhone, it has to go through them in some way. So it doesn't necessarily have to go through the App Store. I mean, you can get an enterprise distribution certificate and go around the App Store, but I mean, eventually if they find out about it, they'll clamp down on it. I mean, that's there for... You got a lot of companies that want to distribute apps in-house, so they'll allow you to do an enterprise distribution certificate, so you could actually host that IPA file on like a web page or something, or even send it to them, and then they could go through and manually trust that application. But they kind of do that. I mean, but you still have to pay every year. You still have to pay the fee for Apple. So they're kind of in charge of that in some way. And a few years ago, there was this big crackdown on that, where some people were actually releasing these, these Apple apps outside of the Apple App Store. With Google Play, you've got loads of stuff. You could just send an APK to people. So you could do, you got the Amazon App Store, you've got Samsung App Store, you've got Huawei. I mean, Android itself is an open system, although I kind of wonder, I haven't really looked into whether or not the AAB files are any different than the APKs, because it seemed like when the AAB files came in, it's not the kind of thing you can just send to people. You pretty much have to distribute that through the app stores. And I'm not sure if that still works the same way through like the Amazon store. So if anybody out there has like ever tried that, let us know, because that would be really interesting to know. Ravi says, I watched Dragon's Den and thought, what if Eric goes there with an app company? You know what? I used to like watching Dragon's Den, and then do you know what kind of bothered me about it was that it was almost like these people were going and asking permission, like they were kind of this the whole idea thing. I think that we're kind of spoiled with software because we could have an app idea and we don't have to go out and find, like, we don't have to build a factory or anything like that. But a lot of people will. They have their app idea and they go, I just need to find some investors, right? And like, I've never found investors for anything. And it kind of bothered me that, that whole, okay, let me take it in front of this person who's had a bit of business success, but they could tell you whether or not your idea is any good or not. That just seems like a bit, I don't know. It was just, and then they get a stake in the company, everything like that. But I think I've always been too selfish with my ideas and my stuff. And that's probably why, maybe that's why I want to grow, because like, I'm happy to get like a loan from a bank or take any kind of funding that way. But I wouldn't want somebody to have a say in stuff like that. So, but it would be interesting. Like, it always seems like, you got these people who go up in front of the Dragon's Den. And Dragon's Den is like Shark Tank for the guys. Shark Tank, there's lots of stuff like that. So people go and they pitch their ideas and they say they're looking for funding, and then the dragons or the sharks or whatever, they'll say whether or not they're in it, but a lot of times they'll just say, they'll shoot them down, and they're just like, they're just wobbling, they're just finding their footing, they're starting out, and I don't know. I was just kind of like, after a while I stopped watching that show. But I don't know what the rest of you guys think about that. YA, which stands for yes and. Okay. YA says, hey, Eric, hope you're okay. I'm doing really well, thanks. What do you think is a good budget to start marketing a messaging app? And which marketing platform would you recommend to start with? It depends on, like, I think whenever we talk about marketing something, I always think about Facebook, because you can interrupt people, because I'm sure there's going to be lots of other messaging apps out there. But having said that, if you put a Facebook app out there that was saying, hey, here's a messaging app for you. I mean, Facebook has one of the biggest messaging applications out there. Now, if your whole thing was about the security of it, like, do you really trust, Facebook to be, looking after all your data? Why don't you go to this other system, which is more secure? Then yeah, that might be a good thing to put in front of people on Facebook, especially if they're concerned about security and that kind of stuff. So, so I would think that. I mean, there's two different ways of doing this. You could do either search ads, which is like you could, if somebody's searching for a term in Google Play. Google Play, I've never really seen how this. Like, I've never really been able to get it to work very well with Google Play, but with like the Apple ads. Having it do, like, you search for a term and then your app will show up at the top. Again, you're still like listed with everybody else, and you're kind of relying on people knowing that that's what they're looking for. So if somebody's looking for that specific thing, then they're going to be looking at, they're going to know what other alternatives are there. Maybe they've done a bit of research on it or whatever. Whereas if you're able to interrupt them and persuade them that, hey, the messaging system you're using may not be that safe or secure or fast or whatever this unique selling point of your application is, then you could interrupt them and say, and once you determine what your target audience is, then you can really target them on Facebook. So when I talk about search advertising versus interruption marketing, so interruption marketing is like a TV ad. The TV ad it comes on and it says, hey, do you have rectal discomfort or whatever. Like obviously, like people will go, oh, yeah, I kind of could do it. No, so like that kind of stuff is like it's more of a mass market thing. But whereas if somebody's actually searching for something, the nice thing about search marketing is you already know that they're a potential customer. And when you're using interruption marketing, you don't know the potential customer, but you're also outside of the whole crowd of people that show up in search results. See, Tamil City Central says, is cloning apps is good and very to find source code of Java byte games. I talk about this a lot. I've done one clone, and I used to know. Like it used to be all the app developers I knew were doing clones. They were just basically reskinning. And they were having a bit of success, but I released one clone and it was removed immediately. And I would think that just taking it buying some code and just reskinning it is not going to be enough. You'd actually need some sort of coding knowledge or a developer who can go through and make significant changes to it. So let's say you have an application that's let's say it's a byte clone. Here's a good example for using the cloning app. So I might have a client contact me and say, we have a bakery and we would like to have a game to advertise our bakery. Then I could say, okay, well, we could dream up bakery related game ideas and start thinking, how's the scoring going to work and what are the characters going to look like? Or we can start looking at what kind of existing games do you like? Look for a clone of that application, or some existing code that we could buy from Chupa Mobile or one of those places, and then just reskin it for their brand. So basically, we're rebranding it as them, and it's kind of that kind of work. So Pac-Man's a good example, all the classic games and everything like that. Or Flappy Birds is a really good example too. But in terms of I don't know how successful you'd be on the app markets with it, because you're basically competing with the actual app itself. And again, even stuff like if it was a bakery and they wanted to advertise or make it something available for their customers, or bakery, whatever, construction company, dance studio, any kind of business, then they already have an existing customer base which they can at least launch it with, whereas you would be launching that clone with nothing. You'd be basically being in competition with the app that's being cloned and every other person who's bought that code. So I don't know if that you guys might disagree with me on that. So let's see. Mr. Mercer says, more apps with less functionality or less apps with more functionality should I publish for better ad revenue? I've always been on the former. So I've always been I'd rather have lots of apps that are, just get them out there so that I can see so I can see how well they do. And that was my strategy for the first few years. And it didn't do too bad because, some would take off, some wouldn't. But the whole thing with the repetitive content policy. So here's the downsides of it. And there's probably more downsides. So now I would probably advise towards the latter. Just going for just a few applications with more functionality. But I still think that more functionality thing should not stop you from going live. You should put things out there and just see, because that's how you're going to learn more from the app being live than you are going to be learn at all from them being in the test stage. So we have this kind of problem I have a lot with clients that they want to have everything in that first release, and then it's okay, we thought of something else we need to put in there, or we thought of something else that would be good, right? And it will cost them more money, but there's also we really, if we go live, we'll learn more about what's going on. I'd rather put something live which is not all the bells and whistles, but has a core functionality so we can see how it does. And then all that knowledge we take from that while we're working on this phase 2, the next bit of features, the next, all the other things on the backlog, the wish list, while we're working on that we're still learning a lot from that application coming in. So yeah, I would say having less apps with more functionality. Okay, the other thing with having loads of apps, and you're talking to a guy who's had hundreds of apps at one, I mean, I guess on Google Play, I still do have quite a lot. On Apple, I cut it down to like half a dozen. And even then, like I really need to update them. And that's because of the guideline 4.3 where Apple stopped like accepting those things. So one of the big downsides of having multiple apps is that whenever there was a change in Admob, whenever there's a change in requirements, whenever there's a change in anything, you had to go through and change everything, right? It's like you go from having just like one thing that you just, okay, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to test it really well, to having, I have 100 things I need to work on and test them really well and get them out there. So if you find something that works, and then that becomes your baby, and then you can start like you're more focused on what that is. And if the app stores were not as difficult as they are, I would probably say, yeah, just do as many as you can, because some will hit, some won't. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you have something out there that has a small amount of users, or maybe even no users for a while, because it might take off eventually. But because Apple is so difficult about it, so Google is so difficult about it, then, oh God. Let's see. YA says, do you have any tips on how to get investors? I do not. I've had people approach. All I know is I've had people ask me. Actually, they don't really ask me if I want to be an investor. They ask me like if I'll just build the app for them and then share it in the proceeds for it. And it's like, it kind of sounds like I'm doing everything. I said, no, but I got the idea, you see? So that's, kind of how that, so I've never like actually gone out and tried to find investors. People ask me about it all the time. And to me, it seems like there's so many people out there with app ideas that don't have any clout to actually know whether or not they'll work. So like if you have if somebody comes to me and wants me to invest in their application and it's just at the idea stage and they want me to build it for them, then I'm not interested, right? There's been no market research, there's been no testing, there's been no prototyping, there's been nothing. Now, if somebody has an app that's out there that has a little bit of traction, or they try different things on it and they say, okay, we think this could be a lot bigger with a bit more funding, then that would be different. But like if you're just starting out from scratch, I think that'd be really difficult. But again, I've never been in that stage. To me, it seems like a really like a tough way to start with if you don't have anything already lined up. So let me know if you guys disagree with me, because let's see. Colt. Hey, Colt Eves, how's it going? Hey, Eric, been loving the increased LinkedIn engagement posts lately. I make sure to like all of them when I see it. Thank you very much. So we got like a social media person. So there's a few things that we've been doing lately. We're trying to do more on social media, including TikTok. And so far, all the TikTok stuff has been like stuff from the live stream. So like we'll take so I got somebody she'll like. We were like, all right. I want to talk about loads of stuff, because I know a lot of this stuff comes up again and again when like different people I talk to. So like a few years ago, I tried to use something called WeVideo for video editing, which is an online video editing software. I had a VA in the Philippines, and I basically said, okay, what if I'll just film the videos and I'll upload them, and then she can edit them in WeVideo. And it was like, not to go into too much about it, but she was like, she was not very good. She was not very good in terms of a virtual assistant. So in the end, none of that actually ended up happening. So we're starting to do that a bit more with the TikTok stuff. If you watch like Gary Vaynerchuk or whatever, like for the last few years, he's been saying, you got to get into TikTok. And every time I look at TikTok, I think, what the hell is this? Because I only see the stuff that gets recommended to me. I've never done any search. So we're doing a bit more on TikTok. We're doing a bit more on LinkedIn and everything like that. And I'm trying to get to the point where I can just film some new stuff for TikTok. I started to realize that one of the problems with the YouTube channel is that whenever I put out a video, somebody will say, oh, you already talked about this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I have. But if it's a new platform, I could just go back to the beginning. I talk about all that kind of stuff because it's the kind of stuff that I think about all the time anyway. But I appreciate that, Cole. Thanks. Ravi says, exactly, I had the same thoughts. If in apps, I don't think ideas of being good. No, this is, and dude, Flutter with Redux is perfect. It makes so much sense. I feel Google should provide this as part of Flutter. Again, I'm still using the provider with Flutter, but but yeah, this we talked about, like, this is one of the things that um, it's good to have an idea. If you don't have an app idea, then you're basically just you know well, if you don't have an app idea, it's good to build up your skills anyway, because that idea might come, or you might release something that because what you learned from that release, maybe like, okay, people are not really digging this functionality, but they really like this other bit over here. Like for some reason, that seems they like like for example, you put an app out there and you're getting enough traffic that you can see what the search terms are that they're searching on. You say, okay, people are finding it for this search term, but not necessarily the core feature of the app. Then you can start to like tailor your app towards that and all that kind of stuff. So it's good to start with an idea and get some, or even if you don't have an idea, to get something out there. But the idea on its own, this is one of the things that I noticed, like from the beginning, like people would call up and go, all right, here's the deal. I got this idea. I was like, I got this idea, but I'm not going to tell you until you sign this NDA. And I'm like, okay. And I used to just sign NDAs like, like nothing. Now I'm kind of like, now we have this thing where I'll only do my own NDA. Like, I'll definitely sign an NDA, but it's got to be my own, because I'm tired of just reading different NDAs. And I mean, I've had meetings with people in coffee shops where they wanted to tell me their idea. And this is when like early on, before I like would ask whether or not I never ask about a budget, but I try to like assess whether or not I think they even have a budget, or if they're just like, because you get that thing where they pitch it to you, and then at the end they're like, so you in? Yeah, all you have to do is build it. And then it's like, and you're thinking, well, basically all you did was just tell me something that was like an idea at a coffee shop. But it's always like a big thing, like, all right, so you ready for this? Okay. It's gonna be like Uber. Like I've done a video on this before. Like it's gonna be Uber for babysitters. Boom. Like, and it's like that thing, like they're waiting for you to like react, and you're like, oh, okay, I drove a long way to get here. But yeah, that whole thing about the idea being like the most important thing, it isn't. It's like, because everybody has ideas. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have been in a situation where you see something that comes out and you think, oh, I had an idea about that. And you're like, you didn't act on it. So, or what's worse is what, like, I had one client say, I had, that wasn't a client, a prospect, but like, it was we had a few conversations, and he told me his app idea. I said, okay, let me have a look. I Googled it. I did a Google Play search because, obviously he says there's nothing like that out there. And like literally on that call, like because it was like a it wasn't a Zoom, but it was like a Google Hangout at the time. And I just basically was on Google Play, and I just put in a search term, and I found an app that was just like the one he was talking about. And he was like, he could not believe that somebody had come out with it. He goes, and he started thinking about everyone he's told and wondering how it leaked. And it was like, dude, people just have the same ideas. So ideas are cheap. Action is what counts. Angry Dog, awesome name, says, hey, Eric, sure you get this question a million times a day, but would you go for Java or Kotlin in 2021? I think in 2021, I think if you're just starting out from scratch, I think it makes sense to go with Kotlin. I used to always be like, Java was like, because there's more job opportunities, there was more job opportunities in Kotlin, or in Java rather. And I used to think, like, if you did Java and then like you didn't end up doing apps, you could still use Java, like server-side Java or whatever. But now, I mean, Android is pretty much it, and I think Kotlin would probably be the way that I would go. And I think Kotlin is a lot more, as a native language, is a lot more. It's a lot more better. It's a lot more better than Swift is. So Swift was like take over from Objective-C, and it was a huge improvement because Objective-C looks like vomit, in my opinion. Which I suppose if you're a C developer, it doesn't. But to me, it's like, damn, this is hard. And whereas Kotlin seems to be able to cover everything more, or like sometimes in Swift, you seem to like still have to go do some Objective-C type things. So, what do the rest of you guys think? Morris Taylor says, my satellite internet can't stream live video. This sucks. Is it getting choppy? And jerky. What if okay, I was gonna say I was gonna make a Max Headroom reference, but that's just gonna show how old I am. All right, Leonardo Leo says, "Hey Leonardo, how's it going? Sometimes I fell selling candies on streets is more. Sometimes I feel selling candies on streets is more profitable than selling an app all over the world. Maybe, but I mean, again, selling candy on the streets is like that's you're basically you're getting it in front of people. Like they're not like if you opened up a candy shop, you would probably not do as well as going knocking on doors. That's like interruption marketing versus search marketing. If somebody's like knows they're looking for candy and you have a candy shop in a town full of candy shops, then you're gonna be like, even if you advertise, there's still like amongst all of those. Whereas if you go door to door, you're basically interrupting people and saying, "Hey, have you ever thought about having candy?" Um, but yeah, I mean, apps are difficult. I mean, but like one of the more popular videos I've done where I talk about the app revenue, which is not as good as it was, to be totally honest. But I've been just, I haven't been updating my applications the way I used to. But it is possible. Like it is possible to get stuff out there, and it does get more. You got to start thinking about the one question you need to be asking yourself when you put an app out there is, who's my target audience? Two questions: who's my target audience, and how are they going to find this? Like, how are they going to find this? Is the market too crowded? What would they be searching for? How do I get this in front of them? So, Carol VDW, hey, how's it going? I'm glad you make it. Thanks everybody for the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Patrick, hey, Patrick's here. How's it going? Steve at AppMasters recommends apps should do one thing rather than do lots of things. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's really what you're going for. You're going for that one core thing. But I think the in-app purchase is that kind of where you can get the extra things added on. So like I said with my EarSpy app, which has been copied but removed, it was like that core thing was just listening. It was listening, and that was a free version. It was ads and everything like that. But the in-app purchases that did well were the extended amplifier, because people use it. It was almost like the extended amplifier was, or the extended it was like an extended amplifier, or where they could extended equalizer, where they could have echo boost and all this kind of stuff on it, because it was enough for them to try it out and think, okay, that might be worth a couple dollars to find out whether or not that improves it, whatever. And listening to or recording as MP3. And another one was homepage widget, and the homepage widget was like the weakest of all of them. Like nobody ever bought the homepage widget, and hardly anybody bought remove ads. It was just that extended equalizer. That was the thing that was like, it improved the experience of that core thing, but it was still that core thing. Ben Mohammed said, Eric, you're the man. Sorry, you're the man, Eric. Are you hitting your targets this year so far? What are you working on specifically, and what can you say without disclosing much? Another Flutter one. I'm still working on I'm still working. I haven't worked on it last week. I'm still working on migrating one. Several of my apps from Corona Solar 2D to Flutter, and every so often I just kind of like give up. What I'm trying to do is take all these multiple applications I have and put them into one parent application, one container app, as Apple asks to do. And every time I start working on it, I was kind of like, oh, I still don't want to do it. Like, I still don't want to do it this way, but I kind of, that's what my weekends go to, is kind of like working on that kind of stuff. And then there's the client stuff, which bringing on new clients, which is kind of, important. I'm just kind of enjoying the work that I'm doing at the moment. Okay. One thing I hate doing, I hate working with Angular. So I have a couple client projects where we did the app in Flutter and the admin sites in Angular. All of it hosted on Firebase. So using Firebase hosting for Angular works perfectly, except for, Angular. And I was a web developer for so long, and Angular 1 I was fine with, but like Angular 2 and above, it's just like working with TypeScript and everything like that. Sometimes it gets too I get browser issues, I get state management issues, all this kind of stuff. And I keep thinking, okay, I need to do Flutter Web. If I moved it into Flutter Web, then I'm only on one language and one platform. With Flutter Web, all I have to do is worry about Firebase, using Firestore for the data, Firebase functions for the API, Firebase authentication for the authentication, and Firebase hosting for the Flutter Web part of it, and then Flutter. Like, those are the two languages, and then I just have to worry about the two app stores, or Google Play and the App Store, and then it like consolidates it more rather than have all these different knowledges and stuff. And one of my big bugbears at the moment is, sorry, got my chair keep moving out of the way. One of the big bugbears at the moment is like between stuff in Angular is like I keep getting calls like, I don't know if this filter is working right, or I don't know, like sometimes when people log in, it doesn't load all the way. It's like, oh. So I got got all that kind of stuff going on, but yeah. So yeah, it's a bit of a rambly question, I suppose, but rambly answer, I guess. But thanks, Ben. Tamil City Center, may I know how to add music in Android Studio in the first page alone? Well, Android Studio doesn't Android Studio doesn't matter. You're doing it in code, so you need to make sure that you could specify a splash screen like in Android that will open up. Usually, what I'll do is I'll just have an activity as a splash screen, so it will go there while it's loading and we'll display that, and that's where you got the whatever on the on create or the on resume or whatever, you start playing that music, and then as it destroys, then you remove it. So if you're using something like Flutter, it would be I would say you wouldn't necessarily do it in a state. If you did a stateless widget, if you did all right. If you did a Xamarin, you do it like on the on appearing of the splash screen, and then stop it on the on disappearing, and whatever. It depends on the life cycle of whatever programming language that you're using. So it's nothing to do. A lot of times people ask me questions about Android Studio. Android Studio is a tool that you use to create the Android apps. It's the language that you're gonna have to do to load it up in, and then also you have to make sure you add it as an embedded resource so it actually plays. What do you think about the Facebook Audience Network update of mediation with other platforms? I don't know. I think it's. I don't know. I'm still kind of like moving away from ads anyway. Just because of the whole. Just because the whole problems and everything that they have with the 4.5 release of the App Store and everything, but I haven't thought very much about that at all. I mean, like mediation, I don't have a mediation problem. I do Admob mediation with Facebook as one of the mediators. Like having Facebook in the middle, like I always think Facebook is more contentious. Like Facebook's always in more trouble, and they definitely change things more often. Let's see. Can you type on Play Store Zender? I don't know what that means. And can you see how many clone apps are there? What do you think of it? I don't know what Play Store Zender is. I've never actually heard of what that is. Is that something that's it's always weird, but I don't know if it's a typo or if it's like a tool. Is it something like a Zender? There's an app called Zender. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, Tamil City Central, let me know. Bart Raka is here. Hey, Bart, how's it going? It says, happy Monday, everyone. Anyone else getting longer app reviews of late? I've been waiting for over 3 days, still stuck in the waiting for review status. I'm about to release one like today, and I'll let you know how I was gone. The last release I did was I guess it was 2 weeks ago, and it was done in, I guess it was 2 days, but it was like an update. It should have been done in 1 day, so it does need to become a bit slower. Armando Jimenez, hey Armando, how's it going? Says, hi, I released my first app like 2 weeks ago, and Admob still not serving ads. Something about doing an assessment on my account. Any experience with this? they say that that's one of the new things that they were going to do. Like there was an announcement it was a few months ago where they said that's just going to be the standard, where they're going to start reviewing all these different applications. So you're going to have that limited ad serving, like for the first, I think it's the first month they said. Let me see if I can find the like they had their, let's see if I find it. So while it's being assessed, so it's either going to be like limited because they have concerns or because they're just reviewing it. And I think I saw something that said it was going to be a month. I'm just sorry. I'm just looking at my screen at the moment. See. Yeah. So let me just share my screen here. It was this one here where it's like the ad serving limits of Admob help. It says while this ad serving limit typically impacts publishers for less than 30 days, it may take longer in some cases. So if you're talking about 2 weeks, it sounds like the fact that they're mentioning 30 days, that could be part of the thing. So I mean, for the rest of you guys who have, it's been so long since I've had ad limiting on mine that I've got a few that are, the ads are limited or ads have been stopped altogether, and it's basically mostly for me it's because I need to replace them in someplace else. So see, Patrick says, I had a guy last week who wanted me to do development, but his idea was too precious to share. Oh God. Eventually I got him to share his idea, and it was Uber for kayaks. I like the way you just say what it is. He was willing to spend several tens of thousands of dollars on the idea. Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you ever get that? There are some where like you kind of like you try, like you're thinking somebody should tell you that this is not a good idea, and it's, you know, and even though it's against my best interest, I think it has to be me. Like it's kind of like I think, yeah, you know, I've done. This is something I do almost like I'll do this a lot where I say, have you thought about using App Annie, or not App Annie, Appy Pie for this? Have you thought about using Appy, something like that? It's a platform you can use, or like you should build this on this framework. You'll save you a lot of money. And they go, oh, can you do that for me? So no, I can't do it, but you should get somebody else who could do it. And it's like, it's that whole like get something out there so you could test the market, because spending tens of thousands of pounds on it, or tens of thousands of dollars on an idea that's untested is like, it's scary. Like, you know, that's the whole thing. You know, get something out there and see how it does, because you know, it's, you know, at least if you get something out there and it doesn't do everything that you think it should, but it does, like it does enough, maybe it doesn't look so good, you can still see the search traffic. You can see, like, you know, if people are seeing it on the I was going to say user acquisition report, but it's called something else now. But yeah, this is this precious idea. I've actually had a thing where I'm sitting in a coffee shop with somebody, we're talking about it, and he's telling me his idea, and then when the waiter would walk by, and he would stop and like watch the guy go by, and then start his idea again. Like it's kind of like it's like a damn, like, you know, you are overestimating or underestimating the laziness of other people to actually take an idea and run with it. Tim Hill said, I think if we think a new idea, but we already think by someone else and published, but it's already, if we think a new idea, but think it's already published. Yeah. Bizwajit, hey, how's it going? Let's see, to me, so there are no new ideas. I like this. There are no new ideas. It's the fact that sometimes as good if another app is already published. You can see how big the market is, and then and if there's room for competition. Yeah, you think about it, like there's yeah, I like that. There are no new ideas. Like with music, there's no, like, how often do you hear something that's totally, completely unique? But yet, new music comes out all the time. There's new creations of stuff. Or food. Like, people aren't going out there, like, when new dishes are created. It's not like somebody goes out there and finds a new vegetable or a new meat. Like, they're just, basically, they're putting things into different combinations. And if you get something that solves a problem better than somebody else does, then it does. I mean, you look about stuff like the GPS comes out on the phone, and then somebody thinks, okay, maybe we can have our drivers use this, and even something like that. Um, that's the kind of thing where I get a lot of people asking about, like GPS tracking and stuff like that. One thing that I'm getting really tired of, just last night was, just went out to watch the football game, the England game in a pub, and you go to a new pub, and it's just like every single one has a different app. They all want the app ordering, which is a like, it's not a very good experience. Sometimes they want you to download an app. Sometimes it's, scan the barcode. Most of the time, scan the barcode, it opens up a website. It's not a PWA, it's just a website. And you go through and make the order that way. It doesn't remember who you are. It's just like a really bad experience. And I'm surprised somebody hasn't gone through and created, or maybe somebody has and hasn't had the again, it's like we talk about, it's not about the idea, it's about whether or not you can get it in front of the right people, right? You can have the best idea in the world, like you can have an idea that's the best application ever, but nobody knows about it, right? And you're not going to expect that one day they're just going to discover it because people are out there trying like every single permutation of the app. No, you have to do something to get in front of people. And so maybe somebody does have an app that works in multiple restaurants and multiple pubs or whatever, but I guess I could, I think, I don't know if the rest of you app developers out there think this, but like, kick yourself with the fact that there was this opportunity there and nobody filled it. Basically, they all went to their own different little websites and stuff. Let's see. Angry Dog says, "Thank you, Eric. Good to know. I'm learning both Java and Kotlin, but I want to focus on Android, so I'll focus on Kotlin more." Yeah, I've never Angry Dog. I've never really used Kotlin. Like, I've still it's one of those things because it was like learning something I didn't need to know. So whereas like I didn't have like a native Android problem, but like I was kind of I'm a bit older. I don't know if you could tell. I was born in 1945. Back then, Java was just coffee. Let's see. Ravi says, "I don't agree with this app should do one thing. I believe an app should do perfect everything that it does. No loose features." Well, I think it should have a central focus. Like, that's one of the things that, if you can't describe what the app does in a sentence, then it gets a bit too weird. Jao Dos Santos says, "Finally caught you streaming. You caught me streaming. Oh, you caught me. Oh, man. Well, welcome. I'm glad you did." Let's see. Patrick says, "What I think that means for do one thing well is don't build a calculator and match 3 apps in one." Yeah, well, I think yeah, I mean, like, okay, yeah, let's see. This is the thing. Like, so many conversations I have with prospects and clients, and even just other people give me ideas about my own applications, which is like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a game in here? It's like, it doesn't really fit with what people are using the application for. Like, it'd be like if they were just like hanging out on the app all day, then maybe. But basically, we're talking about putting a lot of money into something that's like that's not adding value to the core user experience. So yeah, I think that's do one thing well. Yeah, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I'm trying to think of like the biggest applications. Uber doesn't try to do. I guess Uber does Uber Eats, but they kind of broke that out into its own different thing. It wasn't like they try to shoehorn that into the same application. Tinder does dating. Dating apps try to just do dating. Other things try to do just the things that they do, and they have to do that one core thing that gets people in, and then everything else like that will hopefully keep them in the application. Bart Raga says, "Anyone see a massive drop in ad roll revenue from iOS apps? It just goes to show that The focus should always be on in-app purchases. I've seen it, but I need to update my thing. So like, yeah, mine is really plummeted. But I don't know. Like I said, I haven't checked the daily revenue report for a while. Let me just have a look at that. So just to give you guys an idea what my revenue looks like this week, and I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna have a look at it right now. So if you hear me gasp, let's see. So here's my revenue report for. That's January. So July is. It hasn't been updated this week. It basically looks the same as it did last week. So my Admob revenue is really, really low. So even like a week ago, it was like 15, 16. Go back to January, we're talking about like 20, 30. I mean, it's really the same ad placements, but I think the big thing is on the iOS side where it's really dropped because of the 4.5 thing. I've got the two things. I can't just update my app and re-release it. I've got to update my app with Swift 4 or ideally Swift 5. So, which is like, I thought, that's one of the things that if you go native, they shouldn't make you change like every single time. Fist 007, hey, how's it going, Fist 007? Still using Mac OS. Windows 11 is here. That's one weird thing where like everyone's talking about Windows 11 and being outside that ecosystem is like I've just been far removed from it. So yeah, it just my entire career people have been talking about like the OSs that they use, like they're members of a gang. Oh, you're a Windows user? No, I claim Mac, Holmes. I used to be a Windows user, and I think I preferred Windows. But now I've gotten so used to Mac that I've just Mac has made me vacuous and less technical. All right, that's not true. Like a lot of stuff on Mac, like a lot of stuff I do is programming languages. So using Node.js, it's kind of I like the terminal experience better on a Mac, but some things are just really, really weird on it. But Stefan, hey, how's it going, Stefan? Let's see. For the Uber-like wannabes, one must be extra careful because of these guys. Because for these guys, if the project doesn't work, it's the developer's fault. Yes, that's the case almost all the time. Yeah, whenever you get the one that, it's, because at some point, like you have to define everything up front. And even if you get somebody who's not experienced, who's never released a project before, when you say, okay, this is what it's going to do, this is what it's not going to do, they're going to go, you're going to say, okay, whatever. And then later on, they're going to say, oh, yeah, but we need to add this. We need to add this. And then it's almost like, they're pushing it back and they're like, yeah, but we don't have the budget to add. They're saying, but we don't have the budget, but we really need this other thing. Or the biggest thing I get is like, oh, but we mentioned that. But don't you remember we mentioned that in a meeting? And I said, that was in a meeting, but that wasn't part of the spec. That wasn't part of the, early on when we were just thrashing out ideas and you're saying what's possible and what's not possible. Yes, you did mention that feature, but that was never agreed to. Like that was never part of the quote or whatever. And then they start like acting as if you're trying to like pull the wool over their eyes, and it gets really difficult. I mean, I used to be like when I was in my 20s, I remember when I'd get my car fixed, I'd take it down there, and for some reason, I think I heard so many stories about how they screw you at the garage. They screw you at the drive-thru. They screw you at the garage, and so like I would always be like really like okay, nice one, pal. Like, and it was just like, dude, I was such an asshole. I was like even I'm embarrassed to admit it now. Right, because I kept thinking, everyone's just trying to like trick you, and when you have that mentality, then it's just nobody wants to do anything nice for you, and sometimes you'll talk to people like that, and they're kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah, nice try, yeah. How long is that gonna take? Oh yeah, nice try, yeah, and you're like, dude, that okay, there's loads of other developers out there. You go talk to any of them, but like now I'm like. I'm much more subdued now. Like, I think it's you know, when you start to just trust people, it's just a lot easier. Sometimes people are in that space I was back in my younger days, and they're just like, whatever happens wrong is your fault. I agree with that. Davesh Bhatia, hey Davesh, how's it going? Says, hi, I want to know how to do ASO with no budget if we have 0 installs and just a new app. Okay, so ASO is App Store Optimization. So what you're trying to do is, it's not like it focuses on a lot of stuff. It's optimizing your app for the App Store. So how can it be found? Like, I think one of the things that we talk about is ASO as if it's a thing, like if it's a magic wand we wave over it. No, it's a lot of like small little changes to try to think about, like, what are people searching for and how can they find it? Like, if they search for what your app does, what will they be searching for? What can you try to target in the keywords? Now, you can't target the same, like if it's a crowded market and there's nobody, well, first of all, if nobody's searching for it, it's not going to make a difference. If they are searching for it, but like everybody else already knows that, and you already got those words, then is it possible that there's other things that they could be searching for? All right. And even if they do, like, even if it does start to show up in the first page of the results, what does the icon look like? What is the name? Is it something that is going to get them to actually click on it? And what the tools you should be looking at are App Annie, just for whatever keywords you are trying to target, because that's going to show you what where you're ranking. Or you could just go to Google Play and then type in the keyword go to the country that you're looking for, and then just like count all the way down. But App Annie makes it a lot easier to do that. And then so we talk about the ABCs. First, they have to find it. If they can't find it, nothing else matters, right? So they have to either be searching for it, or you have to get it in front of them somehow. It doesn't necessarily have to be the search, but if they're searching for it, then they're already looking for it. So that's easier. You could also do like social media or whatever. You could do whatever. You could, knock on doors. You can knock on doors and tell people about it, although that would not be very efficient. So step 1 is you got to get people to find it. Step 2 is you got to get them to actually click on it. So if it shows up in the search results, or if they're actually looking at it, or they have to download it rather. So if they're actually looking at it, do the screenshots look good? Do the screenshots say what it actually does? Does it look professional? Does it look like something that, that's even worth their time to click that download button? Or do they just click back and go to the next application and have a look at it? Does the description make any sense? Now, the description, like, it's really that first paragraph of the description. Most people don't read through the whole thing. But, I mean, it's your baby, so you might as well do a decent job on the description. You're not gaming the system. Basically, you're optimizing your application for the app stores. So the same as you would be in a same as you would be in a supermarket. Let's say you have a new brand of rice, right? But there's loads of different brands of rice. So how are they going to find it? Is it in the right place? Does it say rice on it? If it doesn't say rice on it, if it says Arabica or whatever, or if it says something that's not plain, that is rice, then people might not actually look for it. Or if there's too many rices, then maybe you need to get a little bit more fancy and try like some other term, like, I don't know, a synonym for rice, or a different type of rice. So you're getting more specific and more niche, right? So once they actually find it, hopefully it's in the right section and it's easy to find. Then they pick it up and they start looking at it. And then they got to think, well, is it something that looks good? Is it something that looks appetizing that they're actually going to buy it? And once they buy it, then they take it back home. Like, you got to think about it in that way. You're optimizing the app store. It's not like a trick that you do. Now, there's certain things about the app stores that are all different, right? It used to be like everyone would talk about keywords, but like they're so crowded and the algorithms change so much. You have to look to see what's working, what's not. Like, if you make a change to your app store description, in the title especially, if you make a change to the title and the descriptions, and hopefully you can get everybody to start using those keywords within the reviews, you still have to check against, see whether or not those are working, because that doesn't necessarily guarantee success. Start looking at App Annie. Nice thing about App Annie is the free version is you can go through, you look at all the different countries and see how it's ranking in those different countries for those different terms that you're interested in. So all that kind of stuff. And you look at your user acquisition reports. What's it called again? The one, the report that tells you like the number of page views versus the number of downloads versus the number of purchases, that kind of stuff. That's going to be important. So if you get people who are, it's showing, so on App Store it shows the search results. So if it's even showing up in search, so it gives you a little bit more information there. But like, are they actually clicking on the store page? If they're clicking on it and your conversion rate is low, meaning like they're actually looking at it, you actually got somebody to pick it up and look at it, but they decided not to download. They decided not to buy it. Why? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with your screenshots? What's wrong with your... Okay, if they didn't even click on it at all, like if it showed up in search results and they didn't even click on the page, what's wrong with your icon? Like, what's wrong with your icon compared to all the other icons? Like, if it's shown up in, if they've actually gone to that page and not actually clicked to download it, what's wrong with the description? What's wrong with the screenshots? Mostly the screenshots. What's wrong with the reviews? How bad are the reviews? That kind of stuff. Google Play, also you have to think about backlinks because it is Google. So having the backlinks gives it more clout and all that kind of stuff. But it's not a trick. You're basically optimizing. You're trying to think, you're answering that one question is like, how do I get this in front of people and how do I get them to download it? And then once you get them to download it, you have to think, how do I get them to make an in-app purchase? That's step C. Let's see. Stefan says, what do you think about Flutter? Flutter. What is Flutter? I love working with Flutter. I really do. I really like working with it. I know a lot of people talk about the janking on iOS, but I've never really experienced that. I like the fast reload. I like using the provider pattern. I like using widgets. I think if there's anything, what don't I like about working with Flutter? It would be nice if it was a bit more like, the two languages I'm using mostly at the moment are Flutter and Xamarin. Xamarin is really cool because it's almost like I can't think of anything you can't do in Xamarin, except for it's a pain to bind to native SDKs in other languages. So like to do native code in Xamarin is a lot easier. You don't have to worry about plugins or anything like that. Although the pub spec is pretty good. I like the fact that the Flutter just feels more fluid, like, just to be able to round corners or you add something to it, you just embed it in another control. And it seems to be really, just really fast to work on. I mean, occasionally you get that red screen of death. Oh man, what's going on? Or you get that little, oh, this is overstretched by so many pixels. All you have to do is add it into an expanded or a flexible. But like for some reason, sometimes that doesn't even work. And you could get into the point where you just start thrashing about. Oh yeah, get a point in Flutter sometimes where you just end up thrashing about. Next thing you know, you got like controls embedded in controls. You got a container in a center with a column and and you start thinking, okay, I'm pretty sure I don't need all these. And you start then you have to go start cleaning things up because I don't know, you went on this feverish trying to get it looking right, tirade or whatever, and you're like, okay, I just need to walk away from this and come back to it. But I like Flutter. Fistable says the best way to start building apps for businesses, help them solve internal issues, so you'll add so much more value. And by solving the same problems again and again, you'll have a huge opportunity for a SaaS around it to be successful. That's true. I mean, most of the stuff I do is businesses, and most of it is internal. Let's see. And Stefan says, did you just email them? Sometimes you'll have people just contact you. But like if you had an idea for like what a SaaS product could do, like let's say warehouse inventory or something like that, then what I would do is I would start with LinkedIn Sales Navigator and start looking for businesses that would specialize in that kind of stuff, and what would be, and start to think who would be the person who would make those kind of decisions, or at least help get a foot in the door. Like would it be the warehouse superintendent or whatever? You need to do everything in your power to get in front of them. Yep. Well, yeah, everything in your power. I've never, it's just one thing. I've never been the kind of person who could go and like play mariachi outside of company. I love stories like that where somebody's like, they go out and like they said I just did everything. But I've done things where I've even sent like unsolicited proposals, like just like saying, hey, this is something we could do for you. This probably costs about this, and actually put a bit of like, and it's so prospective. You obviously can't do it for everybody, but if it's somebody you really want to work with, then yeah, that's when you start getting really like start. It's like you have that dream client of yours, stuff like that. So. Is there any way to remove negative reviews from Play Store? One person told me the 50 report that negative review will be deleted. Is it true? I've never had any success doing that. I just kind of try to get more positive reviews. I don't know. I've never heard that, but it could be true. Yeah, I've never heard anything about that. It makes sense. It would make sense that if somebody was like, there should be some way to report like bad reviews. But does anybody else know the answer to that? Fistel said, call them, ask for a meeting with their management to present yourself with the services and show that you can help them. And try not to be everything to everyone. Try to do one thing and do it better than everyone else, or at least as good as everyone else, but cheaper. Let's see. What's your app URL? Okay. Let's see. Fistel said, can you give me feedback on my web app from a design standpoint, please? Yeah. Let me know what it is. Try to run it on a desktop and on the phone, please. The designs is not the same for all. It's a medical appointment booking app. Okay. What's the if you include the URL, it'll probably get stripped. So I'm not sure if you could like somehow put the URL in there. Raymond, hey Raymond, how's it going? Oh, I just got my Admob pin verification email. Cool. It almost gave me a headache as it took 4 months to reach me. Time to spend some money. Love from Ghana. Oh, cool. Wow. Yeah, 4 months. Wow. Oh, the verification mail. Did I get one of those? I don't think I can't remember ever getting something like that. I got some mail today from Google, but it was that thing where it says if you spend 120 pounds, then you get 120 pounds in ad revenue free or whatever, which I keep getting those emails. But yeah, nothing like that. So Fist 007, happy to have a look at your app, but I'm not quite sure if you sent it through yet, or if it's possible to send it through. Or you can send it through the Discord server, maybe, if you want. Let's see. Oh, damn. YouTube strips the URL even when I wrote it in a fancy way. Ah, I see. Well, it is nearly time for me to start wrapping up the live stream, though. So if we could just have a quick look at that, that'd be good. We might actually, we might have to look at it next week, just because it's I've got another meeting at 7 o'clock, which I need to get ready for. But yep, I think I think what we have to do is we'll have a look at it next week. If you could send it through the Discord channel, that would be good, so we could have a look at it on next week's live stream. Sorry we weren't able to get to that today, just because it's been an hour. And but anyway, hey everybody, thanks so much for joining the live stream today. I really appreciate it. I know it's like just on the webcam today. Actually, this works out pretty well. The address verification mail. Okay, cool. Let's say one more thing. Stephen Dew says, Eric, we're having problems with a lack of reviews in our app called Fresh Radio. iOS version is better. Any advice? Yeah, it's just like it's really difficult to get people to review it. If there's some way, like what I take it to mean is like they're actually downloading it and using it, but they're not leaving a review. Don't use that like that standard pop-up saying, hey, like this, because we're all become conditioned to it. We're all saying, like, nope, like, do you want to leave a review? I get that all the time, and I never leave one. If you can use there's an app review API where you can actually leave the star review from within the application, which works much better if you can use that. But also if you can, like, we've tried stuff like using like different wording, like the Vietnamese app was like, show people how much you love Vietnamese by leaving a review or whatever, like that kind of stuff. So, I think to play around with different languages, like you basically what you're trying to do is just stress to them that they're helping out the application itself, right? They're helping out the app. They're not just helping out the app, but they're showing people how much how much they love radio or how much they love whatever it is. So you can actually do that. That's something you could try. I'm not saying it will work because we've tried stuff where we had a little girl saying, please, like a little cartoon girl, and that seemed to work pretty well. Just trying to be really cute with it and try to be different, and at least something so when they get that pop-up dialogue, you just like instinctively, it's not instinctively, but like you're just so conditioned to click dismiss and close it that you don't actually even read it anymore. And so you can make it look a little bit different so they actually stop and read it. Like think you want them to say, hey, what's this? Not, nope, I know what that is. So let's see, Admob with Facebook Audience Network. I don't know, we'll have to talk about this one. What do you think about Admob bidding with Facebook? Yeah, for me, like it's every time I've used Facebook Audience Network. Okay, I'm going to go after this one. Every time I use a Facebook Audience Network with Admob mediation, it's like it's never done as well as people seem to say that it does through just Admob through Facebook on its own. So and I don't know, either Facebook's not as good as I think it is, or like going through the mediation network makes it not as good. So I don't know. So anyway, hey everybody. Okay, this is it. Thanks everybody for joining the live stream. We'll do this again next week. Thanks so much for joining. I hope you have a great week ahead. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll talk to you again next Monday. Bye.